One of the biggest traps in life, one that steals your energy, your confidence, and your future, is comparison. It's looking left and right, trying to measure your worth by someone else's ruler. We scroll through social media. We see people living their perfect lives, making more money, looking better, achieving more. And we start to shrink inside. We say, why am I not there yet? What's wrong with me? But let me tell you something powerful. Nothing is wrong with you. The only problem is that you're focusing your energy outward instead of inward. See, the moment you start focusing on others, you give away your power. The moment you start comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20, you lose your story. And your story, your growth, your discipline, your passion is where your greatness lives. So let's take that energy you've been wasting on other people and bring it back home, because everything you've ever wanted, the confidence, the success, the peace, starts when you make one simple decision to focus on yourself. The energy shift. Here's something most people never realize. Your focus is your fuel. Where focus goes, energy flows. If your focus is on other people, what they think, what they're doing, what they have, your energy leaks away. But when you focus on you, your goals, your standards, your next step, that same energy becomes unstoppable. Think about it. You can't drive your car forward while staring at the driver next to you. You'll crash. Yet most people are trying to live their lives doing exactly that. They're watching everyone else's lane instead of mastering their own. When you redirect your focus inward, everything changes. You stop asking, how do I compare? You start asking, how can I grow? That's the shift. From competition to creation, from jealousy to mastery, from noise to clarity, the cost of comparison. Let's get real for a moment. We've all fallen into the comparison trap. You see someone your age who's already made it. They're driving the car you want, living in the house you dream of, working the job you wish you had. And instantly your mind whispers you're behind. But let me give you the truth. You're not behind, you're on your path. Their timeline is not your timeline. Their success does not limit yours, and their story has nothing to do with your journey unless you let it distract you. Comparison is a thief, not of time, but of joy and potential. It makes you believe that success is scarce, when in reality success is abundant. It makes you think that for them to win, you have to lose. That's nonsense. The truth is someone else. Success can be your inspiration, not your intimidation. You can look at others and say, if they can do it, I can too, but that only works if you stay focused on your own growth, become your own competition. Here's a principle I live by. The only person you should try to be better than is the person you were yesterday. When you focus on outdoing yourself, you never lose. You create a game you can actually win because you control the rules. And in that game, every small improvement counts. Every rep in the gym, every page you read, every hour you practice, it builds you. Most people wait for others to validate them. They want applause, recognition, likes, and followers, but real power comes when you no longer need applause to move forward. When you become your own source of motivation, when you wake up and say, I'm not here to prove myself to anyone, I'm here to become the best version of me. That's when you become unstoppable. The mirror moment. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked in the mirror, really looked, and asked yourself, who am I becoming? That's not a small question, that's the question. Because every day, whether you realize it or not, you're building a version of yourself. Your habits are shaping it, your thoughts are feeding. Your focus is defining it. If you spend your days comparing, complaining, and doubting, you're building a weaker version of you. But if you spend your days learning, improving, and taking action, you're building a stronger, wiser, more confident version of you. Every single day is a brick. The question is, are you building your future or someone else's? The freedom of self-focus. Here's the beautiful thing about focusing on yourself. It brings freedom. When you stop trying to impress others, you start to express yourself. When you stop chasing approval, you start chasing purpose. And when you stop comparing, you start creating. That's when life becomes lighter. You begin to move from stress to flow, from doubt to drive, because your happiness is no longer dependent on anyone else's opinion or progress. You learn to clap for others, not because you're trying to be polite, but because you're secure. You know their win doesn't threaten you. It expands what's possible. You can celebrate them and still stay focused on your own journey. That's real confidence. That's real peace. Build your inner standard. Let's be honest. Focusing on yourself isn't easy. It's not some magical affirmation. It's a daily discipline. It means saying no to distractions. It means setting standards higher than excuses. It means being brutally honest with yourself and doing the work when no one's watching. The question isn't, what are they doing? It's, what am I doing right now to become who I want to be? You see, the world rewards what's visible. Results, achievements, success, but those results come from the invisible. Habits, mindset, focus, the people who achieve greatness aren't obsessed with others, they're obsessed with mastering themselves. So, build your own scoreboard, measure progress, not perfection, track your habits, celebrate your wins, learn from your mistakes, but don't dwell on them because your value isn't measured by comparison, it's measured by commitment. Focus creates results. Whatever you focus on grows. If you focus on fear, fear grows. If you focus on doubt, doubt grows. But if you focus on growth, on discipline, on passion, that's what grows. Your mind is like a garden. If you plant seeds of jealousy and insecurity, don't be surprised when weeds take over. But if you plant seeds of self-belief and patience, you'll harvest confidence and success. So guard your focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Your future is shaped by what you choose to give your attention to today. Your time is now. Don't wait. Don't wait until you have the perfect plan, the perfect moment, or the perfect circumstances. You'll wait forever. Start where you are with what you have and who you are right now. Focus on growing 1% better every single day, because one day you'll look back, not to compare, but to realize how far you've come. And that's the ultimate victory. Not proving others wrong, not impressing the world, but proving to yourself that you were capable all along. So from this moment forward, make yourself a promise. I will focus on myself. I will build my path. I will trust my process. Because your life is too important, your dreams too precious, and your potential too powerful to waste on comparison. Your focus is your superpower. Use it wisely, because when you focus on yourself, your growth, your goals, your greatness, that's when you stop surviving and start thriving. Comparison is one of the most subtle yet powerful forces that can quietly erode your energy, your motivation, and your sense of purpose. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't come with a warning. But the moment you start measuring yourself against someone else, you begin to lose the power to shape your own life. You see, when you compare yourself to others, your mind is no longer operating in your own lane. It's running in someone else's lane, chasing someone else's achievements, worrying about someone else's opinions. And every second you spend doing that is a second you are not investing in yourself, not developing your talents, not strengthening your mindset, not creating the life you were meant to live. Comparison is dangerous because it hides behind normality. We think it's natural to look at others, to gauge our progress by theirs, to measure our self-worth by their success. But that thinking is a trap. It convinces you that their achievements are the standard, when in reality, those achievements have nothing to do with you. It's like trying to navigate a map meant for someone else. You can follow it perfectly and still end up completely lost. We live in a world that constantly tempts us to compare. Social media, work environments, family gatherings, even casual conversations, all these platforms and situations are fertile ground for comparison. You see your colleague getting a promotion faster than you, your friend posting about a new car or a luxury vacation, or someone your age running a business while you're still figuring out the first step. Instantly, your mind starts to calculate, measure, and question, am I enough? Why am I not there yet? What's wrong with me? And in that moment, energy that could have been used to learn, grow, or take action is wasted on doubt, fear, and resentment. You feel drained because comparison is a mental tax. It silently siphons off your motivation, your creativity, and your clarity. It makes you feel like you're behind when in reality, you are exactly where you need to be. Comparison doesn't just steal energy, it also clouds your focus. Your focus is your most valuable asset. Everything you want in life, whether it's personal growth, financial success, improved relationships, or inner peace, requires your attention. Where your focus goes, energy flows. But when your focus is on someone else, your energy is scattered. You start asking the wrong questions. Why can't I be like them? What are they doing that I'm not? Why do they seem happier, richer, more successful? These questions keep you trapped in a reactive state, constantly chasing validation from external sources, and they prevent you from asking the right question. What can I do today to grow, improve, and move closer to my own goals? The more time and attention you give to comparison, the less time and attention you devote to self-mastery. Comparison is deceptive because it often disguises itself as motivation. You might tell yourself, I'll work harder because they're doing better than me, but motivation built on comparison is fragile. It's conditional and external. It can disappear the moment the other person moves ahead, the moment someone else succeeds, or the moment you experience a setback. True energy and sustained focus come from internal alignment, from clarity about who you are, what you value, and where you are going. When you stop comparing, you reclaim that energy. You redirect it from anxiety, envy, and distraction into purpose, discipline, and action. You create a feedback loop where your energy feeds your growth and your growth fuels your confidence. The impact of comparison is not just mental, it's emotional and even physical. Every time you measure yourself against someone else, you trigger a stress response in your body. Your mind interprets it as a threat, a lack of success, a lack of recognition, a fear of inadequacy. This stress can manifest as tension, fatigue, or even illness if it persists over time. Meanwhile, your emotional state shifts subtly but powerfully. You feel resentment toward others, impatience with yourself, or insecurity about your abilities. These emotions are toxic because they pull you away from your goals. They anchor you in a cycle of dissatisfaction, making it nearly impossible to appreciate what you have or to see the opportunities right in front of you. Think about the times you've compared yourself to someone else. How did it make you feel? Probably frustrated, maybe envious, possibly even resentful. That frustration burns energy. That envy poisons creativity. That resentment clouds judgment. And none of it helps you move forward. Instead, it keeps you tethered to someone else's story. You become reactive, not proactive. You stop taking control of your life because a part of your mind is busy running someone else's race. You are living in a world designed by comparison, not in a life designed by your own vision and purpose. Comparison is especially deceptive because it makes you focus on outcomes rather than growth. You look at someone's wealth, status, or accomplishments and feel inadequate, but you don't see their journey, their failures, their discipline, their sacrifices. You only see the final product. It's like judging a masterpiece by looking at a finished painting without knowing the hours of sketching, the mistakes that were corrected, the techniques that were learned. Comparison lures you into valuing results over process. It makes you forget that progress, not perfection, is the key to achievement. You end up chasing recognition instead of mastery, validation instead of self-respect, applause instead of improvement. Another reason comparison steals your energy is that it triggers a sense of scarcity. You start believing that someone else's success limits yours, that there is only so much opportunity, recognition, or happiness to go around. That thinking is false, yet it is deeply ingrained. In reality, success is abundant, opportunity is limitless, and your life's path is uniquely yours. Comparing yourself to others makes you feel like you're competing for a finite resource when in truth the only person you're competing with is the version of yourself you were yesterday. Comparison also undermines confidence. Confidence comes from belief in your abilities and trust in your process. When you measure yourself against others, you doubt your own potential. You question whether your goals are realistic or whether you have what it takes. Confidence falters because you're basing it on someone else's achievements, not your own efforts. And when confidence falters, energy diminishes, action slows, and progress stalls. You may even give up on dreams that are entirely within your reach, simply because someone else's journey looks easier or faster. To truly reclaim your energy and your focus, you have to develop awareness. You must notice when your mind starts to compare. You must recognize the triggers. Scrolling social media, hearing about someone else's success, seeing someone achieve what you desire. Awareness is the first step toward control. Once you are aware, you can consciously redirect your thoughts. Instead of saying, I wish I had what they have, you can ask, what can I do today to get closer to my goals? Instead of feeling envy, you can feel inspiration. Instead of feeling defeated, you can feel empowered. Comparison also steals energy because it keeps you in a state of constant judgment. You judge yourself, you judge others, and you judge your progress. Judgment is draining. It consumes cognitive resources, it erodes positivity, and it prevents flow. Flow is the state of peak performance, creativity, and fulfillment, and comparison blocks it. When you stop comparing, you open the door to flow. You free your mind to focus on learning, creating, growing, and taking massive action without distraction. You invest your energy in building your life instead of worrying about what everyone else is doing. Comparison makes life unnecessarily complicated. It adds mental clutter, emotional baggage, and unnecessary pressure. It makes you believe that happiness is somewhere outside you, attached to someone else's success. But when you focus inward, you realize that energy spent comparing is energy lost, lost opportunities, lost time, lost clarity. Every moment you spend worrying about someone else is a moment you could spend strengthening your own mindset, building your skills, or taking action that brings you closer to your vision. The truth is, comparison is a thief, a silent energy vampire that robs you of time, focus, and purpose. It distracts you from your goals, clouds your judgment, and triggers unnecessary stress and doubt. It lures you into chasing external validation and measuring yourself by someone else's yardstick. And while it seems harmless in small doses, over time it becomes a habit that keeps you small, insecure, and stagnant. But the good news is that this habit can be broken. Awareness, discipline, and conscious redirection of focus are all it takes to reclaim your energy. By choosing to focus on your own path, on your growth, on your mastery, you stop giving away your power. You take back control of your energy, your motivation, and your future. You stop reacting to the lives of others and start creating your own reality. And in that creation lies freedom, confidence, and unstoppable momentum. This version is approximately 1,000 words and stays entirely on the theme of comparison, stealing energy and focus. Written in a motivating, high-intensity style, focusing on improving yourself is one of the most powerful decisions you can ever make, yet it is also one of the most overlooked. Most people spend their lives looking outward, constantly measuring their worth against someone else's achievements, someone else's opinions, someone else's path. But real transformation, real power, and real success come when you turn that focus inward. When you direct your energy toward becoming the best version of yourself, you take control of the only thing you can truly control: your actions, your habits, and your mindset. You see, no matter how brilliant or talented someone else may be, it has no bearing on your ability to grow, to evolve, and to create the life you want. You are the architect of your own life, and improvement starts with your decision to stop worrying about what others are doing and start investing in who you are becoming. The first step in focusing on yourself is understanding that growth is a choice. Every day, every moment, you are either moving closer to the person you want to become or you are drifting away from that vision. There is no neutral ground. The mind and body are always responding to the energy you give them. If your focus is scattered on what others have, what others are doing, what others think, you are giving your most valuable resource, your attention, to things that will never serve your growth. But if you choose to focus on yourself, on your own habits, your own skills, your own mindset, suddenly the energy that once went to comparison and distraction transforms into momentum, into results, into progress that is real, tangible, and entirely yours. Improving yourself is not about perfection. It is about commitment. It is about showing up every day and doing the work, even when no one is watching, even when there's no external reward. It is about recognizing that the life you want does not come from envy, from judgment, from watching others succeed. It comes from discipline, consistency, and relentless action toward your own goals. It is easy to look at someone else's life and think, I wish I had their talent, their opportunities, their luck. But wishing is powerless. Action is everything. When you focus on yourself, you move from a mindset of scarcity, believing that other people's success limits yours, to a mindset of abundance, understanding that your growth is unlimited and that your efforts compound over time. Every hour you invest in learning, practicing, improving, or reflecting is a deposit into your future success. A future that is built entirely on your efforts and not anyone else's. Focusing on yourself requires discipline because the world is designed to pull your attention outward. Social media constantly broadcasts the highlights of other people's lives, tempting you to measure your worth against someone else's achievements. Conversations at work, at home, and in social circles often revolve around who is ahead, who is doing better, who is winning. If you are not careful, it becomes a habit to judge yourself by these standards, to compare and compete in ways that do not serve your journey. But when you commit to focusing on yourself, you build immunity to these distractions. You start creating a mental filter that allows you to absorb inspiration without envy, to observe others without judgment, and to remain entirely committed to your own path, your own growth, and your own improvement. Self-improvement is multidimensional. It is not just about learning a new skill or achieving a professional milestone. It is about cultivating every aspect of yourself, your mindset, your emotional resilience, your physical health, your relationships, your values. Every day presents opportunities to improve. Every challenge you face is a chance to grow. Every mistake is a lesson that adds to your wisdom. When you focus on yourself, you start to see these opportunities everywhere. You stop wasting energy wishing you were different, wishing life was easier, wishing others had not achieved more. Instead, you start asking powerful questions like, what can I do today to become better? How can I learn from this experience? What is one step I can take right now to get closer to the person I want to be? These questions transform your energy into action, and action is the fuel of growth. Another critical aspect of focusing on yourself is taking responsibility. Improvement is not about blaming circumstances, comparing your situation to others, or waiting for validation. It is about owning your life fully, accepting where you are, and committing to where you want to go. When you take responsibility, you reclaim control over your time, your energy, and your choices. You stop blaming the world for your limitations and start leveraging every resource at your disposal. Self-focus is empowering because it shifts the center of control from external forces to internal action. It reminds you that while you cannot control what others do, you can control what you do, and that is where your power truly lies. Focusing on yourself also requires patience and persistence. Improvement is rarely instantaneous. It is the result of small, consistent actions over time. Every book you read, every skill you practice, every habit you develop, every reflection you engage in contributes to your growth. The process is slow, but it is unstoppable. When you focus on yourself, you stop expecting overnight results and start embracing the long-term journey. You begin to understand that every effort counts, even if it doesn't show immediate results. You learn to measure progress not by comparison, but by the distance you have traveled from where you started. Energy management is another crucial reason to focus on yourself. When you constantly measure yourself against others, your energy is drained by doubt, envy, and distraction. You expend emotional power worrying about someone else's success instead of building your own. When you shift your focus inward, that energy is reclaimed. It becomes the force that drives you forward. You become more productive, more creative, more disciplined, and more confident. You are no longer reactive to the world around you. You are proactive in building the world you want to live in. Focusing on yourself also strengthens your relationships and interactions. When you stop comparing, judging, and competing, you become more present, more generous, and more understanding with others. You are able to support others without feeling threatened, to celebrate their achievements without envy, and to inspire them by your example rather than by competing with them. Your growth becomes a beacon, not a benchmark, and people are naturally drawn to your energy, your focus, and your commitment. Mental clarity is another byproduct of focusing on yourself. When your attention is no longer scattered by comparison, you're able to prioritize effectively, make decisions with confidence, and execute your plans with precision. Every choice becomes intentional because it is aligned with your goals, your values, and your vision. You are no longer operating out of fear, doubt, or insecurity. You are operating out of purpose, clarity, and self-belief. Finally, focusing on yourself cultivates resilience. Life will always present obstacles, setbacks, and challenges. When you are focused on others, you become fragile because your confidence is external. Every failure or delay feels like a reflection of your inadequacy. But when you focus on yourself, resilience is natural. You understand that setbacks are part of your growth, that mistakes are lessons, and that the journey itself is your training ground. You are anchored in your own progress, and external circumstances cannot shake the confidence and energy you have cultivated internally. By choosing to focus on improving yourself, you reclaim your life, your energy, and your potential. You create momentum that cannot be stopped, build habits that sustain success, and develop a mindset that is impervious to distraction and envy. Every step you take towards self-improvement compounds over time, creating a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, more capable, and more fulfilled. This inward focus transforms not just your skills and achievements, but your entire perspective on life. You begin to see challenges as opportunities, setbacks as lessons, and growth as a natural part of your daily existence. This version is approximately 1,000 words and maintains the motivational high-energy style focus, entirely on self-improvement without comparison. One of the most liberating truths you can embrace in life is that the only person you should ever try to be better than is the person you were yesterday. Too many people waste their energy comparing themselves to others, competing in invisible races, and trying to measure up to someone else's standards. But that's a game you can never truly win. No matter how much you achieve, there will always be someone ahead, someone faster, someone smarter, someone wealthier, someone luckier. And if your focus is on them, your energy will always be scattered, your confidence shaken, and your progress slowed. True mastery comes when you shift your attention inward, when you stop looking outward for validation, and when you measure your growth by your own actions, choices, and improvements. The concept is simple, yet profoundly powerful. Every day, every moment, you have the opportunity to be just a little better than you were yesterday. When you orient your life around this principle, everything changes. Suddenly, success is no longer a distant prize that belongs to someone else. It becomes something tangible, something achievable, something you control. Improvement is no longer a competition with strangers or colleagues. It becomes a personal challenge, a commitment to growth, and a journey of self-mastery. You start to see your life as a series of opportunities to outperform your past self, to expand your abilities, to strengthen your character, and to deepen your resilience. Every small step counts, every habit matters, and every decision is meaningful because it contributes to your progress. The beauty of competing with yourself is that it removes the toxic stress of comparison. You no longer measure your worth by someone else's achievements, wealth, recognition, or social status. You are no longer trapped in a cycle of envy, resentment, or insecurity. Instead, you are free to focus entirely on your growth, your journey, and your potential. This freedom creates clarity. You know what matters to you. You know what steps you need to take, and you can dedicate all of your energy to executing your plan without distraction. Your goals become your own. Your standards become your own, and your success becomes your own. Every day you wake up, you have a choice to be better than yesterday or to remain the same. Improvement doesn't require massive leaps, extraordinary talent, or perfect conditions. It requires consistency, awareness, and deliberate action. It can be as simple as improving a skill, developing a positive habit, managing your emotions more effectively, reading a book, exercising, or even changing a limiting belief. The point is, every effort you make to grow yourself adds up. It compounds over time, and as you build momentum through consistent small improvements, you begin to see your life transform. You start to understand that greatness is not about beating others. It is about outgrowing your past limitations, your old patterns, and your own self-doubt. When you focus on being better than you were yesterday, failure takes on a different meaning. Setbacks are no longer devastating because you are not comparing yourself to someone else's journey. Every mistake, every challenge, every obstacle becomes feedback, a signal that guides you to adjust, improve, and adapt. You learn to evaluate your actions based on progress, not perfection, based on growth, not comparison. Your confidence grows because it is anchored in your own efforts, not in external validation. You start to measure success by the distance you have traveled, the lessons you have learned, and the personal victories you have achieved, rather than by someone else's standards. This mindset also fosters resilience. Life is unpredictable, filled with obstacles, failures, and moments of doubt. When your focus is on competing with others, these challenges can feel overwhelming. Every obstacle can trigger fear, anxiety, or envy because it seems like someone else has it easier or is further ahead. But when your competition is with yourself, challenges become opportunities. They become the measuring sticks of your growth. You learn to face adversity, adapt to change, and develop persistence because your goal is internal progress, not external validation. You become resilient not because life is easy, but because your standards are rooted in self-improvement rather than in comparison. Another advantage of competing with yourself is the clarity it brings to decision-making. When you are no longer distracted by what others are doing, your choices become more intentional. You no longer waste time chasing someone else's goals or trying to impress others. Instead, you invest your energy in activities that directly contribute to your own growth and long-term vision. You start to prioritize effectively, focusing on the tasks that matter most, the skills that will move you forward, and the habits that will compound into meaningful results. You become a master of your own life because your focus is singular, aligned, and purposeful. Focusing on self-competition also nurtures a mindset of continuous improvement. You develop a habit of asking powerful questions every day. How can I improve today? What lesson can I learn from this experience? How can I challenge myself to be stronger, wiser, or more capable than yesterday? These questions shape your thinking, your behavior, and ultimately your results. They create a feedback loop that fuels growth. Each small improvement builds confidence, momentum, and motivation, which in turn enables further growth. The process becomes self-reinforcing because the only benchmark that matters is your previous self, not someone else's accomplishments. When you adopt this approach, envy and resentment naturally diminish. You no longer feel threatened by the success of others because you are not measuring yourself against them. Instead, you can celebrate the achievements of others without fear, guilt, or insecurity because you understand that their journey is separate from yours. You begin to see that success is not a zero-sum game. One person's win does not diminish your potential. The focus on improving yourself allows you to engage with the world from a place of confidence, abundance, and generosity rather than fear, comparison, and lack. The principle of self-competition also changes the way you view time. Every day becomes an opportunity to invest in yourself, to improve, to learn, and to take action. You no longer waste time worrying about where someone else is in life or how fast they are moving. Instead, you dedicate your energy to being slightly better than you were yesterday. This shift transforms your perception of progress. You see growth everywhere, in your skills, in your habits, in your mindset, in your discipline. Every moment becomes a chance to build your life, not a moment to be distracted by someone else's journey. Focusing on self-improvement over external comparison also enhances your self-esteem and confidence. Your sense of worth becomes tied to your actions, not the opinions or achievements of others. Confidence grows naturally when you see tangible evidence of your own growth, when you overcome challenges through your own effort, and when you consistently outperform your previous self. It becomes intrinsic rather than dependent on external approval. You develop a strong internal compass that guides your decisions, shapes your priorities, and fuels your ambition. Another important aspect is that competing with yourself encourages a long-term perspective. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. If you spend your energy measuring your progress against others, you risk burnout, frustration, and impatience. But when you measure your progress against your own previous performance, you cultivate patience, persistence, and endurance. You understand that growth is cumulative, that small improvements compound over time, and that consistent effort produces extraordinary results. You learn to value the journey, the process, and the discipline required to reach your goals. Finally, adopting this mindset transforms the way you define success. Success is no longer about comparison, approval, or recognition. It becomes a personal standard, a measure of how far you have come, and a reflection of your commitment to growth. Each day becomes an opportunity to outperform your past self, to strengthen your skills, and to expand your potential. You become the benchmark, the standard, and the source of your own motivation. The race is no longer about beating others. It is about becoming the best version of yourself, consistently, relentlessly, and without distraction. Building habits and developing discipline are the cornerstones of success. Yet too many people underestimate their power. They look for quick fixes, shortcuts, or sudden bursts of motivation, believing that a moment of inspiration will carry them to their goals. But real transformation is not born in a single day, a single speech, or a single act of courage. It is forged in the consistent, intentional actions that become habits. It is molded in the discipline to show up, to do the work, and to stay committed even when no one is watching and even when the results are not immediately visible. Habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They are the building blocks of character, performance, and future outcomes. Every choice you make repeatedly forms the patterns that define your future, and every habit you adopt either propels you forward or holds you back. Discipline is the bridge between goals and results. Anyone can dream, but dreams without discipline are just illusions. You can have vision, passion, and desire, but if you do not take daily, consistent action to move toward your goals, nothing will change. Discipline is not punishment, it is empowerment. It gives you control over your actions, your focus, and your energy. Discipline allows you to create momentum. Momentum is the force that transforms small steps into major breakthroughs, that converts intention into tangible results, and that compounds effort over time into lasting success. The difference between people who achieve their dreams and those who do not is rarely talent or opportunity. It is the willingness to cultivate habits and apply discipline consistently. Habits are essentially repeated behaviors that eventually become automatic. They operate quietly in the background of your life, shaping your results without conscious effort once they are established. The powerful truth is that you are not a single action. You are the sum of your habits. Every habit you develop contributes to the person you are becoming. If you wake up early, exercise consistently, read daily, practice your craft, or manage your time effectively, you are building a foundation for long-term success. Conversely, if you spend hours in distraction, procrastination, or unhealthy routines, you are slowly sabotaging your future. Habits are like seeds. Some seeds grow into strong, towering trees that provide shade, fruit, and beauty, while others become weeds that choke the life out of your garden. The quality of your habits determines the quality of your life. One of the keys to building effective habits is starting small. Too often, people try to overhaul their lives overnight. They attempt massive transformations that are unsustainable, and when they fail, they give up entirely. The truth is that small incremental improvements create massive change over time. Focus on tiny, manageable actions that are easy to repeat. For example, if your goal is health, start with a 10-minute walk daily rather than expecting to run a marathon immediately. If your goal is learning, start with reading 1 page a day rather than committing to hours that feel overwhelming. The consistency of these small actions compounds, and over time, they build habits that become effortless, natural, and unstoppable. Discipline is closely intertwined with focus. Your ability to maintain focus on your goals and priorities is what allows habits to form and grow. Every distraction, every moment of procrastination, every shift of attention toward irrelevant things weakens the neural pathways that support your new habits. Discipline is the conscious decision to prioritize long-term results over short-term comfort, pleasure, or distraction. It is the ability to say no to temporary impulses and yes to the actions that move you toward your vision. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Each time you resist a temptation, stick to your routine, or push through discomfort to complete your tasks, you are strengthening your capacity to follow through, to persevere, and to achieve. Another critical component of building habits and discipline is accountability. When you hold yourself accountable, you create an internal system that reinforces consistency. Accountability is not about judgment or punishment. It is about clarity and commitment. It is the understanding that your choices matter, that your actions compound, and that your future depends on the quality of your present actions. Accountability can come from tracking progress, journaling your achievements, setting milestones, or sharing your goals with someone you respect. The act of monitoring your performance increases awareness, reinforces positive behaviors, and strengthens the neural pathways that make habits automatic. Building habits also requires designing your environment to support your goals. The human mind is wired to seek ease and comfort, and your environment often dictates your behaviors more than your willpower. If your surroundings are filled with distractions, temptations, or influences that reinforce negative behaviors, it becomes much harder to maintain discipline. On the other hand, if your environment is structured to encourage growth, focus, and productivity, your habits take root more naturally. Simple adjustments like keeping your workspace organized, reducing distractions, surrounding yourself with people who support your vision, and creating routines that reinforce positive behaviors dramatically increase your ability to stay disciplined and consistent. Discipline is not about rigidity, it is about freedom. Many people think discipline is limiting or restrictive, but the opposite is true. Discipline frees you from the chaos of impulsive choices, wasted energy, and inconsistent effort. When you have discipline, you control your actions instead of being controlled by circumstances or fleeting emotions. You can direct your energy toward meaningful pursuits, take charge of your future, and create the life you want rather than reacting to the life you are given. Discipline is liberation because it allows you to live intentionally, to act with purpose, and to align your daily behaviors with your long-term vision. Habits and discipline are also the foundation of resilience. Life is unpredictable, filled with challenges, setbacks, and failures. Without habits and discipline, you are vulnerable to distraction, discouragement, and giving up when things get difficult. But when you have cultivated strong habits and self-discipline, you have a framework to fall back on during tough times. Habits provide structure, predictability, and consistency, which stabilize your life when external circumstances are chaotic. Discipline provides the inner strength to persevere, to keep moving forward, and to continue showing up, even when results are delayed or obstacles appear. Together, they create an unstoppable engine that propels you toward your goals despite adversity. The compounding effect of habits cannot be overstated. Just as small daily actions build habits, habits build character, performance, and results over time. The person you are tomorrow is the product of the actions you take today, the routines you follow, and the discipline you exercise. Small improvements repeated consistently lead to extraordinary transformations. Reading a few pages every day, exercising consistently, saving a small portion of income, practicing skills regularly, or dedicating time to reflection may seem insignificant in isolation, but over months and years, they compound into massive growth. Habits are the multiplier of effort, and discipline is the fuel that powers the multiplier. Ultimately, building habits and discipline is about becoming the master of your own life. It is about recognizing that your future is not determined by luck, circumstances, or the actions of others. It is determined by the choices you make daily. Every habit you adopt, every moment of self-control, every act of discipline is a vote for the person you want to become. These votes accumulate over time, shaping your identity, your performance, and your destiny. When you take this responsibility seriously, you create momentum, achieve results, and cultivate confidence in your ability to control your life. Habits and discipline are not limitations. They are the tools through which you build freedom, mastery, and lasting success. Your focus is one of the most powerful forces in your life, yet too many people treat it as if it is unlimited, assuming that attention will naturally go where it needs to go. The truth is, focus is like a laser. It can cut through anything, but only if it is directed and intentional. Where your focus goes, energy flows. Every thought you nurture, every action you prioritize, every moment you dedicate attention to compounds into results, progress, and transformation. The problem is that most people scatter their focus on distractions, on other people's opinions, on the noise of the world, and on trivial matters that do not serve their purpose. They drift through life reacting to circumstances instead of directing their energy intentionally toward what matters most. The result is frustration, stagnation, and a feeling that life is happening to them rather than through them. When you learn to control your focus, you unlock a superpower that can change everything: your mindset, your results, your growth, and the trajectory of your entire life. Focus is more than just attention. It is energy management. Every time you allow your thoughts to wander toward negativity, comparison, or distractions, you dilute your energy. Your brain, your emotions, and your body are all designed to respond to where your attention is directed. If your attention is scattered, your energy is scattered. You may work hard, you may exert effort, but it is wasted if it is not concentrated on the things that truly matter. Focus is what converts intention into results. It transforms potential into action, dreams into reality, and desire into achievement. It is the secret force behind high performers, innovators, and leaders who consistently create extraordinary outcomes. The first step to harnessing your focus is awareness. You must become conscious of where your attention is going. Most people do not realize how often their minds drift toward irrelevant concerns. They worry about what others think, compare themselves to the successes of others, or ruminate on things they cannot control. This wandering mind consumes energy, generates stress, and produces nothing of value. Awareness is the foundation of focus. When you notice your attention drifting, when you catch yourself getting lost in distractions or unproductive thoughts, you have the opportunity to redirect it. Every moment you reclaim your attention, you regain control over your energy, and you can choose to direct it toward growth, action, and results. Focus is also about prioritization. Your energy is finite, and you cannot give it to everything equally. Every decision to pay attention to one thing is a decision to ignore something else. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle is their ability to prioritize their attention on the high, leverage activities that create the greatest results. It is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters most consistently and with full presence. High performers are masters of attention management. They know that by directing focus to the critical few rather than the trivial many, they multiply their impact, accelerate their progress, and achieve extraordinary results over time. Focus creates clarity. When your mind is scattered, your vision becomes blurry. You may know your goals in theory, but in practice, the noise, the distractions, and the competing demands make it difficult to take decisive action. Concentrated focus allows you to see clearly, to identify the next step, and to act with confidence. It is a lens that sharpens perception, intensifies energy, and magnifies results. Every successful person, every breakthrough achiever has mastered the ability to focus deeply on the task at hand, to eliminate distractions, and to channel their mental, emotional, and physical energy into productive action. Another important aspect of focus is emotional control. Where your attention goes, your emotions follow. If you focus on fear, anxiety, and doubt, those feelings grow. If you focus on positivity, gratitude, and possibility, those feelings expand. By consciously directing your focus toward empowering thoughts, inspiring goals, and solutions rather than problems, you train your mind to generate energy rather than drain it. Emotional energy is one of the most powerful drivers of action. When focus aligns with positive emotion, your energy becomes unstoppable. Motivation, creativity, and perseverance increase exponentially because your mind and body are working in harmony toward a clear, defined objective. Focus is also a tool for self-mastery. It allows you to control your responses, your habits, and your behaviors. When attention is scattered, impulses take control and inconsistent actions dominate. But when focus is applied intentionally, you direct your behavior, reinforce productive habits, and maintain alignment with your goals. Discipline grows naturally because your attention is no longer divided. Your energy is concentrated on building momentum, developing skills, and taking the actions that matter most. Focus becomes a force multiplier that amplifies every effort, every decision, and every action, turning ordinary efforts into extraordinary results. The ability to focus also determines your resilience. Life is filled with challenges, distractions, and obstacles. Without focus, it is easy to become discouraged, overwhelmed, or derailed. But with focus, your attention becomes a guiding light. It allows you to maintain perspective, to prioritize solutions over problems, and to act strategically rather than react emotionally. When you concentrate your energy on what you can control and what moves you forward, you become unstoppable. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable become manageable. Opportunities that were once hidden become visible, and setbacks that once demoralized you become lessons that propel you further. Focus can be trained and strengthened like a muscle. It requires practice, consistency, and intentionality. Start by identifying the most important tasks, projects, or goals that will produce the greatest results. Allocate your attention deliberately to these areas, avoiding distractions and interruptions. Use tools, routines, and strategies that reinforce sustained attention. Meditation, journaling, task prioritization, and time blocking are just a few of the methods that can strengthen focus over time. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to maintain attention on what matters most, and the greater the impact of every action you take. Focus also enables creativity and problem solving. When your mind is scattered, your thoughts are fragmented, and insights rarely emerge. But when focus is sustained, ideas flow, connections become apparent, and innovative solutions appear. Concentrated attention allows your subconscious mind to process information, generate insights, and identify opportunities that are invisible to a distracted mind. This is why high performers, thinkers, and creators often emphasize the importance of uninterrupted focus. Their superpower is the ability to direct their energy with precision, allowing deep thinking, exploration, and mastery to flourish. Furthermore, focus creates consistency. Success is rarely a product of sporadic effort or random bursts of energy. It is the result of sustained attention and repeated action over time. When you direct your energy intentionally, you create momentum. Momentum compounds, effort builds confidence, and produces results that become self-reinforcing. The habit of focus leads to mastery because it allows you to dedicate the time, attention, and energy necessary to develop skills, overcome challenges, and achieve meaningful goals. Without focus, talent, potential, and even intelligence cannot be fully realized. Focus also amplifies learning. Every hour you spend concentrated on growth, development, and skill building yields exponential returns. The quality of your learning is directly proportional to the depth of your attention. Multitasking, distractions, and fragmented focus dilute the impact of every effort. But when you commit your full attention to learning and improvement, knowledge is absorbed more efficiently, skills are developed more effectively, and mastery is achieved more quickly. The ability to focus transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary competence, allowing you to accelerate your path to success. Finally, the principle that where focus goes, energy flows extends to every area of life: health, relationships, career, finances, and personal growth. Your results in any domain are a direct reflection of the attention you give to it. Neglect it, and it suffers. Invest focus, and it flourishes. By consciously choosing where to place your attention, by guarding it against distractions, and by aligning it with your priorities and goals, you harness one of the most powerful forces available to any human being. Focus becomes your superpower, the catalyst for transformation, and the engine that drives extraordinary results in every area of your life.